So the technology actually doesn't exist. So
Wait, the technology. William, here is the technology. I've asked you to simply make it smaller.
Okay, sir, and that's what we're trying to do, but honestly, it's impossible.
Intrepid.
Mark was able to build this in a cave! With a box of scraps!
Well, I'm sorry. I'm not...
Intrepid Studios.
Hey guys, it's your boy Vlhadus here, and today I want to go over 3 major features that the server meshing livestream will do in regards to your gameplay experience in Ashes of Creation for Alpha 2 and beyond. Let's get into it. Alright, so the first major feature that I really want to talk about is their server infrastructure regarding system failure or server crashes. I just want to start off by saying a little bit of a story. When I was playing Warlords of Draenor in World of Warcraft, the starting experience, or I would say the first couple of days of the launch, were a disaster, to say the least. I could not get in the server to play the damn game. It was so frustrating. And by the time I finally managed to get to the garrison, everybody for like the first 3 to 4 days. Now, mind you, there were some servers that had absolutely no problems. But my server, oh my God, the amount of times that I got disconnected to then go back into the queue, to then go back into the game, to then be disconnected yet again. It is the most frustrating experience of, anyone's life. When we're going through those server crashes, everybody that's on the server is getting disconnected along with you, which then in turn has these long queue times. And that was the thing that I was probably the most frustrated with, was the fact that like every single time I saw the server crash or realm down, then when the realm came back up, everybody was trying to log in all at the same time. So juxtapose that to this server meshing. Now, the technology of the gridding that they're trying to do is that since they're basically blocking certain portions of the entirety of the map to certain server allocations, that means that if you were in a certain area and there was a critical error that happened in that specific grid, then that server will basically get shut down. So yes, it's an inconvenient, but the entire server is not being shut down. It's just that particular portion of the area. So when you go back into the queue, you're not going to be queued in with 9,000 or 8,000 or, several thousand people. It's probably only going to be just, hopefully a couple of hundred. Now, I would think that the most problematic areas are probably going to end up being the starter areas, because that's when the most influx of people are going to go into the area and, cause server crashes. But that's where another feature is probably going to come in clutch, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But I really do hope that even the static server meshing along with the dynamic gridding can really provide at least alleviation of queue times. It could also help out in the fact of server crashes, so that way we don't have to be experiencing server crash after server crash after server crash, which is why it's so critically important for us to be in the Alpha 2 testing, not just very surface level issues, but deep-seated rooted issues that systems may face, so that Intrepid could actually nail what those bugs are and fix them pronto. So by the time we get into the live launch, we're smooth sailing. So let's get into the second major feature. The second major feature that I want to talk about is actually creating the massive open world experience that other players really truly don't get to experience in a lot of MMOs. The fact of the matter is, when you go and play World of Warcraft, Lost Ark, Final Fantasy 14, most of those games shard their game. And what I mean by sharding, it's basically like virtual instances of their persistent areas and towns. So if everybody was in Orgrimmar, the game would basically shut down. There's just too many people. The server can't facilitate that. So you basically get maybe 50 people, on your server, maybe 75, but nothing to where it truly feels like the massively multiplayer online role-playing game that most people want to experience. Ashes of Creation is making us a promise of absolutely no sharding, and there's going to be no instances into other zones. If a game that's very infamous for doing so is a game like Final Fantasy 14. Now, there's even games that are 20 years old like World of Warcraft where you can go into zones with absolutely no instancing. However, the game is heavily sharded. So there is going to be a huge delineation and a huge difference that Ashes of Creation is trying to do for their open world gameplay. So we finally have a company that solved the massive issue, no pun intended, but server meshing and dynamic gridding is the two things of why Ashes of Creation is going to be the success that I believe it, and I truly believe it to be, because there hasn't been a game to solve this issue. They have to solve it by other ways. And this company, not even a AAA company, they don't have billions of dollars like Activision or Blizzard or Bethesda or just any of these other games, are actually solving something that I think many MMO players are truly going to be appreciative for. And now let's talk about the third major feature. And finally, the third major feature, the biggest thing, or I should say probably massive thing, is bringing back the massive multiplayer role-playing game. The fact of the matter is, dynamic gridding will be able to bring to life truly 250 versus 250, potentially even 500 versus 500 in-game, no sharded battles. And again, we've seen just a preview of this in the latest Node War live stream from Ashes of Creation. That went on without a hitch. A lot of the people that came from PI, the people that are internally testing this game, said that it felt pretty good. There hardly was any lag. And we've also seen this before, way back when. In Alpha 1, we saw 120 versus 120 Castle Siege battle. And mind you, when I was seeing that battle go live, it was one of those things that I was just in awe with, because as a World of Warcraft player, I can literally queue into a 40 versus 40 battle, and it's an instance. And there's literally screen tearing, there's lag, there's rubber banding, there's spell effects being delayed, there's just a whole bunch of stuff, and that's currently in the game right now. Massive doesn't truly exist anymore in a lot of these theme park MMOs. Ashes of Creation is remedying that with its dynamic server meshing system. This is why I think this game has such a chance to do some really cool things regarding streaming, regarding content, regarding gameplay, regarding immersion, just regarding even bigger PvE events that can possibly be held by even the server masters, or just dropping something crazy. And again, games used to do this back in the day. There used to be this relationship between the GMs and us, the players. And that's why I think all these old MMOs have such nostalgia for certain people, because people back then just had fun. And I mean, not just people, us as gamers, I mean the actual developers and employees themselves. I just think we live in a totally different time now. And nothing regarding server infrastructure has literally upgraded itself. Yes, we've gotten brand new Unreal Engine versions. Yes, we've gotten beautiful graphic fidelity, but nothing regarding server infrastructure has improved. Why? Why did it take a company like Intrepid to do this when all of these other multi-billion-dollar companies had all the chance in the world to do something about it, and they chose not to? They chose to sit on their laurels. They chose to just sit this one out and think, well, players don't truly want this. And this is why I truly believe we've gotten the single player agenda, because that just only benefited these companies. They didn't have to really bring back Massive anymore. We'll just make it a single player mentality MMO. Everybody just playing by themselves the whole time. And mind you, there are a lot of people who dig that. Me personally, I think it's counterintuitive to the overall design. You're supposed to be with other players. You're supposed to be with a lot of other players. And the fact remains is that Ashes of Creation is trying to do something that MMOs wanted to do back then, but didn't have the technology. But in 2024 and beyond, we're finally going to get there.